Joining me now via Skype is Chris Naude. He is the president of the Western Cape Climbing Federation. Chris, how are things going on your side?
Yeah, well, you know, when you're used to being out in the mountains, being restricted to your home is not so much fun, but probably less for me than for other people. I kind of tend to sit behind a desk. For a lot of them, life is about getting out onto the crags and the mountains and what have you. So that's pretty tough for them. But I think generally speaking, they're coping well. They're climbing the walls at home. Literally.
Climbing the walls at home, yes. I've had a few puns already thrown at me. The equestrian guys are especially good at using the puns in their when they communicate with us, sort of taking the horse for a ride and
Yeah.
so on. Yes, you know, there's endless amounts. So don't put the cart before the horse and so forth. From a coronavirus point of view, Chris, on a more serious note now, have you guys been able to use the sports platform as a method to speak to your members, and that they are in turn spread it to their friends and families to stay isolated?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think when news first came down of having to be isolated, a lot of us kind of thought, well, this is an ideal chance for climbers because you can hardly get more isolated than being in the mountains somewhere. But sadly, the law doesn't necessarily work that way, and being out in the open is also not. It's frowned upon as well and illegal. So it took a little bit of adjustment for people to do this, but I think they've adapted well, and I've seen a lot of feedback of parents trying to build climbing walls at home or at least parts of it, and building exercise equipment to keep them strong while they are stuck at home. So the message is certainly out there, and everybody's hanging from window frames and door frames, and
it's
climbing, hanging from the rafters.
Hanging from the rafters, yes.
Literally, yeah.
Yes, we could probably carry. Climbing is not the world's biggest sport, but you know, of course, it's an Olympic sport and draws a high profile. Have you guys been able to increase your communication with your members during this time to not only spread the word around staying safe during the lockdown, but also around some administrative components?
Well, I'd like to say that we've always been reasonably good at communicating with our members. We've got a fairly small base, so it's relatively easy, and we tend to congregate in the same places. So there's direct contact as well as the online contact, and obviously our online proportion of that has now gone up. But I think we've managed to keep it up reasonably well. There are a couple of initiatives which we've embarked upon with looking at sports psychology and doing group sessions online.
Oh yes, yeah, we haven't thought about that.
With looking at the psychology of climbing, it's a big part of climbing. Not only for beginners, getting their heads around the fear of falling and all of those sort of psychological aspects, but also in terms of competition, keeping right in competition. And we were kind of wanting to start that before the crisis hit us. And now that it has, we're just bringing that online. It's an easy thing to continue with. That doesn't require necessarily being in the same room. So yeah, that's kind of what we're looking at the moment.
I know some of your members have been sharing some videos. We're going to move towards we're on a bit of a time constraint, but I want to show this video, and maybe just have a look at this and then talk us through it. Come on. So for me, just looking at that, it doesn't look like much, and it just looks like someone's trying to hang off a beam.
That is literally all it is. That device that you saw there, the little wooden device with the finger holes in it, is it's called a hangboard, and it's one of one of the elements of that is used regularly in climbing training. Getting your fingers strong to hang off a very small grip is pretty crucial. A lot of people don't have them at home, and they've improvised all sorts of things to now do that exercise at home. That was that was my son hanging there with our adopted climbing friend who got stuck here at our place for the 3 weeks, which has been quite fun. They've been training together, but so they've done a good solid 2 or 3 hour sessions every day since the lockdown began.
That's of course David Naude. He's
That's correct.
Junior Olympian. Went to Rio for the Junior Olympics. No small slouch to be having in your house with you when you've got an Olympic athlete training in your house.
It gets quite challenging occasionally, but they've kind of shifted their schedules around and managed to get some exercise in, and doing a lot more stretching, and the things that they don't normally like to do have now become part of their routine, which I'm hoping will stick with them as we move out of the real crisis phase. Yeah. Although I do see that the competition scene in all sports really are going to be affected long beyond the lockdown. The social distancing, I think, will continue for quite a bit longer than that, and we're actually meeting this evening to discuss what we're going to do about our competition schedule and how that affects selections for international competitions later on, and so on, because there's a whole strategy around that which will have to be revisited.
I think we probably have to wait and see what all the news is that comes out. And right now, Chris, we're going to leave it at that now. I can just say to you on your side, you guys need to stay safe. Don't take any chances. Make sure that you guys stay in isolation and keep spreading the message amongst your athletes to absolutely take every precaution and follow the authorities' guidelines.
Absolutely. I think this is pretty critical, and looking at some of the graphs, I was going over some of the data this morning, and you can see that it's actually having a positive effect in South Africa, because we got in early with this, and it is really making quite a substantial difference. So stick with it.
Yeah, Chris Naude there, folks. We're going to have to now cut it short, but it's been a pleasure speaking to you, Chris, and best of the family. And of course, folks, by the way, no relation whatsoever. Although we still probably have to explore that one, we never know. But Chris, best of the family and everybody out there, and stay safe.
Thanks, buddy, and to you.
Thanks, Chris. Right, folks, Chris Naude, of course, the chairperson of the Western Cape Climbing Federation, of course, together with Jeff Mayer, who's also a joint leader there. We'll get some clarity on that later. Folks, we will continue here with Sports Federation TV, all with the purpose of making sure that we spread the message against the spread of the coronavirus. All right, critically important now that you stay at home, you stay isolated, you pay attention to what the authorities are telling you. We'll talk to you again more after the break.